A young woman walked out of a sheriff's station in the middle of the night. No phone, no wallet, no car, no way to get home. Her name was Mitrice Richardson. She was 24 years old, a college graduate, a daughter, a friend, a woman who, according to her family, was clearly in crisis. And yet, after being arrested in Malibu, California, she was released alone into the dark. Hours later, she was seen in a quiet residential area. Then she vanished. For almost a year, her family searched, volunteers searched, investigators searched. But when Mitrice was finally found, the discovery did not bring peace. It brought more questions, because the story of Mitrice is not only a missing person case, it is a story about judgment, a story about mental health, a story about what police saw, what they missed, and what they choose to do. And at the center of it all is one terrifying question. Why was a vulnerable young woman allowed to walk away alone in the middle of the night? Before Mitrice became a case file, before her name appeared in headlines, before strangers argued about what happened to her, she was a young woman with a future. Mitrice was from LA. She had graduated from California State University with a degree in psychology. That detail mattered because Mitrice was not some faceless person wandering through a headline. She was someone who wanted to help people. She was described by loved ones as bright, energetic, funny, and full of life. She loved music. She loved dance. She had dreams. But in September of 2009, something changed. People close to her later described behavior that was unusual. These details are not included to mock her. They are important because they suggest something serious. Mitrice may have been experiencing a mental health crisis. And if that was true, then the decision made that night became even more important. Because the question is not just what happened to Mitrice. The question is who recognized that she needed help and who failed to act. On September 16, 2009, Mitrice went to Jeffrey's, a restaurant in Malibu. It was not a place near her home, it was far away from her normal surrounding. This is where the story starts to turn, because by many accounts, this was not simply about the restaurant bill. People at the restaurant reportedly believed something was wrong. Her behavior was unusual. Her speech was unusual. Her decisions were unusual. That detail is haunting because it raises a question. Was this really a situation that needed to become an arrest, or was it a situation that needed care? Police took Mitrice into custody. Her car was not taken with her. Her phone, purse, money, and personal belongings did not go with her. And from that moment forward, Mitrice was under the control of the system. A system that had one basic responsibility: keep her safe. When Mitrice's mother, Lady Sutton, learned what was happening, she became worried. Think about that image. A mother sees her daughter acting strangely. A restaurant has already called police because of unusual behavior. Mitrice is now in custody, and the people responsible for her release have to decide what happens next. Does she stay until daylight? Does someone call family? Does someone arrange a safe ride? Does someone ask whether this is more than a minor arrest? This was not a woman no one cared about. Her family was there. Her family was worried. Her family wanted answers. But the decision that night did not go the way they expected. Mitrice was not kept until morning. She was released. Alone. Mitrice was released from the Malibu Lost Hills Sheriff's Station in the early morning of September 17, 2009. That is the moment that makes this case impossible to forget. Because the station was not in the middle of a busy city street. It was in a remote area. Mitrice was far from home. Her car has been impounded. Her phone was not with her. Her purse was not with her. Her family was not there to pick her up, and she was released anyway. But her family saw it differently. They believed she was not safe. They believed she should not have been allowed to walk away. And once she walked out of that station, the night swallowed her. Hours after she was released, Mitrice was seen again. The sighting is chilling because it proves she was alive after her release, but it does not explain what happened next. A woman with no phone, no money, no car, and possibly in crisis was now moving through unfamiliar places. She was not in a safe place. She was not connected to help. She was alone. And after that sighting, the trail went cold. For Mitrice's family, this became the beginning of a nightmare. They were not just searching for a missing daughter. They were searching through silence. They were fighting a system that, in their eyes, had failed her before the search even began. And every hour that passed made the same question heavier. Where did Mitrice go after that backyard? After Mitrice disappeared, searches were launched. Her case drew attention. Her family pushed for answers. The public starts asking why a young woman had been released under those conditions. But they returned into weeks. Weeks turned into months, and still, Mitrice did not come home. Her mother filed a lawsuit while Mitrice was still missing. In June 2010, the Los Angeles Times reported that Lady Sutton sued Los Angeles County and Sheriff's Department officials, alleging negligence and wrongful death. At that time, she said she hoped Mitrice was alive, but had to face the possibility that she was being held somewhere or was dead. That sentence is painful, because it captures the space families live in when someone disappears. They are forced to hope and grieve at the same time. They imagine rescue. They imagine danger. They imagine the phone ringing. They imagine the worst. And in Mitrice's case, the worst possibility eventually became real. In August of 2010, nearly 11 months after she vanished, her remains were discovered in Malibu Canyon. The search was over, but the mystery had only deepened. Mitrice's remains were found in August of 2010 in Malibu Canyon. ABC7 reported that her remains were found in a remote area known as Dark Canyon, about 6.5 miles from the patrol station. Her cause of death was classified as undetermined by the Los Angeles County Coroner Department. The Los Angeles Times reported that her remains were discovered in Malibu Canyon and that her death had not been ruled a homicide, while her family was insisted she was the victim of foul play. This is where the case becomes even more disturbing, because finding Mitrice should have been the moment when investigators protected every piece of evidence. The scene should have been handled carefully. Every item should have been documented. Every question should have been treated as urgent. But instead, a new controversy began. The handling of Mitrice's remains became one of the most criticized parts of the entire case. That matters because in unexplained death, the scene is part of the story. Move the scene too early and you can lose context. Lose context and you can lose answers. And for Mitrice's family, that was another wound. First, she was released into the night. Then after she was found, the investigation itself became a source of doubt. The official cause of Mitrice's death remained undetermined. That word means the medical examiner could not say exactly how she died. Not accident, not homicide, not natural causes. Undetermined. And for a family already carrying grief, that word can feel like a locked door. ABC7 reported that the Sheriff's Department says the case remained open, but without new leads. The family has long believed something more happened. Her mother, and father have questioned the release. They have questioned the search. They have questioned the handling of the remains. They have questioned whether key evidence was properly protected. That is important to say clearly. A settlement is not an admission of guilt. The official position denied wrongdoing, but it did not erase the questions, because the public can look at the timeline and still ask, why was she released without a safe ride? Why were her belongings not with her? Why was her family not used as a resource? Why did the system treat the legal release as more important than the safe release? And why, after all these years, does no one know how Mitrice died? The Mitrice case is not only about one night. It is about what happens when a person in possible mental distress meets a system built for rest, not care. That sentence is the center of the case. Not observed, not identified, released without advanced planning, family available. This is why Mitrice's stories still matter, because there is a difference between opening a jail door and making sure someone is safe. There is a difference between saying she was free to leave and asking, could she survive this night alone? There is a difference between policy and humanity. Official reviews found no criminal wrongdoing, but even some official discussion acknowledged that policies needed improvement, and that is the legacy of this case. Mitrice became a symbol of what can happen when warning signs are missed, when vulnerability is underestimated, and when the system treats release as the end of responsibility. But for her family, release was not the end. It was the beginning of the nightmare. Mitrice's family never stopped pushing. They wanted answers. They wanted accountability. They wanted the truth. In 2024, the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors established a $20,000 reward for information about the case. That tells us something important. Even many years later, the case is not closed in the hearts of the people who loved her. A reward does not bring back a daughter. It does not repair the night she was released. It does not answer how she died, but it keeps the door open. It says someone may still know something. Someone may remember a detail. Someone may have seen something near those canyon roads. Someone may have stayed silent for years, and maybe one day that silence can break, because Mitrice was not a headline. She was not a mistake in a report. She was not just a name connected to a lawsuit. She was a young woman with a future, and that future ended after a chain of decision that still demands scrutiny. So what happened to Mitrice? Here is what we know. She was arrested after a restaurant incident in Malibu. She was taken to the Lost Hill Malibu Sheriff's Station. She was released in the middle of the night without her car, purse, cell phone, or money. She was seen hours later in Mountain Needle. Then she vanished. Nearly 11 months later, her remains were found in Malibu Canyon. Her cause of death remains undetermined. Her family believes the system failed her. Officials denied wrongdoing, and the public is left with a painful truth. Sometimes a case does not haunt us because we know exactly what happened. Sometimes it haunts us because every answer leads to another question. Mitrice should have had a safe way home. She should have had help. She should have had someone looking at her not as a problem to process, but as a person in danger. And when she walked out of that station, the system may have considered its job finished. But the story of Mitrice proved the opposite. That was the moment when protection mattered most. That was the moment when one different decision could have changed everything. And until the full truth is known, her case remains one of the most troubling questions in California true crime. A young woman was released into the darkness, and she never came home. If you believe Mitrice's story deserves more attention, share this video, because cases like this are not kept alive by headline. They are not kept alive by people who refuse to forget. And somewhere, someone may still know something. Mitrice had a name. She had a family. She had a future. And she deserved the truth. Thank you.